Okay, so here's something about me you may not know. Back in, oh god, was it 2010? I was in that stage where I missed Transformers Animated because I loved the show, and it was killed off by the god awful sale of the Bayverse Transformers movie toys. They were just clogging the shelves. So, to my surprise, when a little bit later a new cartoon came out, which took the Michael Bay complicatedness of Transformers and combined it with that smooth style of animated, and they created a CGI show called Transformers Prime. I wasn't expecting to like it. I definitely wasn't expecting to love it, and I definitely did. It's probably my favourite actual Transformers show, maybe even more so than G1. So you can imagine my surprise when Legacy started, and the Transformers Legacy line started, shall I say, and they announced that they were going to release G1ified versions of Transformers from other sections of the franchise. Especially when in that first wave, we had Bulkhead and RC from Transformers Prime. And needless to say, I ordered them both. Bulkhead's already here, go away a bit longer for RC, but they both look fantastic. But it did get me thinking that, well, we've actually got quite a few other characters from that Transformers Prime line already in their G1 versions as is. So we're actually getting pretty close to getting a G1 Prime universe lineup. Like, take for instance the main Autobot lineup. Obviously, the one we've already got is Optimus Prime, and for most people they use the Earthrise version because that is probably the best version of the G1 design of Optimus Prime you're gonna get at the moment. In fact, I can't think of anything better for G1 Optimus Prime than that figure. Now, admittedly, if you wanted a more Prime Universe version, I would probably maybe take that Laser Optimus Prime from Legacy, the G2 designed one. It's got the right vehicle mode for Prime Universe Optimus Prime and the large shoulders, so maybe it's like a repaint or recast of it just to get those Prime colours a bit closer. That would probably work even better, but still, we have a G1 Optimus Prime to go into this Prime Universe Autobot lineup. And as I said before, we've got those two that have come out already in Legacy. Bulkhead, fantastic figure. RC, I've heard mixed reviews, but I still really like the look of it. And even Bumblebee. In fact, the last couple of years, we've had a fair few Bumblebee toys. That Netflix Earthrise version, which was like a rework of the Earthrise Cliffjumper with their actual VW Beetle shell vehicle mode. And two that have come out in the buzzworthy Bumblebee line. They're all interesting, though for my actual personal taste, it's actually one that only arrived this morning. It's the one that comes with the Worlds Collide buzzworthy Bumblebee set. It is literally a yellow repaint of the Earthrise Cliffjumper mould with the Bumblebee head. It's pretty much exactly what we had when we got Bug Bite a year or two ago. But this works really well for me because it's not exactly timeless. It's it fits into all my collections. Like if I want to do a G1, a Prime, or even an animated collection shelf, his rather generic vehicle mode fits in with all of them, and the colours really pop and they look really nice. So he's the one I have in my head and on my shelf at the moment, in my G1 inspired Prime Universe shelf. But that leaves one other character, doesn't it? Ratchet. What do we do about him? Because Ratchet was probably one of the best characters in the show. A lot of people really loved him, same as actually in animated. He's probably one of the most standout characters there, but in Prime, yeah, he had a lot of character development and he was really likeable in the sense that he was not trying to be likeable, but you ended up liking him anyway. And they have done Ratchet figures recently. There was one in Siege. It was a Cybertronian moded version. It looked very interesting, but it was extremely expensive and you've got no chance of getting it nowadays. And then afterwards they released a Earthrise / Earth mode version of him in a Amazon exclusive 2-pack, which yet again extremely expensive and also not quite right colour wise. I don't know, I think he looks too grey. I think it's the head crest. I know it probably should be black due to like the G1 toy, maybe. I need to look that up, I can't remember, but he's a bit too dark for my liking. And then they re-released that again as Shattered Glass version, in another hard to get 2-pack. But we still haven't had a decent Earth mode Ratchet figure from the Earthrise or Legacy or Kingdom, a modern Earth vehicle mode Ratchet. And it really wouldn't be hard to do. I mean, just looking at the Prime design, all you'd have to change really to make it like a G1 version of the Prime character, make the head crest red. All you've got to do, and it'll work perfectly fine as a G1 Prime Ratchet. And that's all we really actually need to fill out the Autobot line. And I can imagine a lot of people would really want to get that just to have that collection, because as I say, it was a really great show. But obviously there weren't just Autobots in that show, there were the Decepticons. And it was a pretty okay set. It wasn't a massively overextended universe of Decepticons. The lineup was kept rather compact to make the show not too, kind of like Beast Wars, not to have too many characters to lose them all in the plot. Pretty much every character had a little bit to do in every episode, even if it's just a little tiny cameo, but at least they were there and they were part of it. And of course we've had G1 versions of Megatron, Starscream and Shockwave. The Starscream from that show is quite different from the G1 version, but I can't imagine Hasbro doing a G1 inspired Prime Universe Starscream, because there's already a G1 Starscream and there's enough similarities where they probably won't think about creating a new figure. Similarly, Megatron, you have the Earthrise version, which is very G1 with the tank mode. Admittedly, the Prime version had a jet mode, so I suppose would actually work really well for that, as if they took the Shattered Glass Megatron, which they added parts to give that a jet mode, and just repainted that to be more like the Prime Universe version. That would actually be a really great release now that I could think about it. Yeah, I would definitely get that. That'd probably sell really well. But apart from that, the rest of the characters would need some new toys making. Luckily, last week we had the 2022 Pulse. I don't know if it's PulseCon or a Pulse event when they showed off the second wave of Legacy. And luckily in that we had one of my favourite Decepticons from the show, Knockout, and we saw basically what his figure is going to be, his G1 inspired Legacy figure. And it's a rework of the Studio Series 86 Jazz figure, and it works really well. It's a fantastic G1 version of Knockout, and as you can imagine, I've ordered it because it's beautiful. One thing I was expecting is back in when Legacy started, we got rumours of what might be in the waves, and one of the rumours that was kind of highly expected to be true listed a Prime Universe Soundwave. No, we haven't got that exactly. We've got a re-release of the Siege Soundwave, but this time without all that battle damage and paint schmutz and dirt. It looks quite nice. A lot of people are surprised we've not got a re-release of the Netflix version, which had the Earth mode cassette player mode. But I'm just as happy getting this Siege one, and I can, as I say, pop it into a shelf as a G1 version of the Prime Universe Soundwave, because they both have flying modes, and it's not perfect. I'd actually really like a G1ified version of the Prime design, but I can live with this tidied up Siege figure. But there is one I actually really want. I have a really big soft spot for Arachnid, probably my favourite Decepticon in the show, one of my favourite female Transformer characters. It's pretty safe to say I have definitely a little bit of a thing for her. But her toys have always been pretty abysmal. I mean, her actual mainline toy in Prime was just diabolical. It was insulting, to the point that even the tiny Legion or whatever it was back then, the tiny figure was actually much better compared to that abomination of a mainline release. And she's had appearances in IDW as well quite recently, ignoring the version of her that appeared in Transformers vs Star Trek. That's very weird. But she's been in the IDW main universe, IDW 1.0. She's also appeared in the new IDW 2 universe, looking great in that as well. And we could really do with a new figure of her. I mean, APC Toys are actually doing a fantastic looking version of a toy of that Prime version, and I really am tempted to pick that up. But at the same time, I'd kind of really like a Legacy G1 inspired version of it to go with these other Prime Universe G1 inspired figures. So yeah, that was it, folks. That's just a few ideas I had, something that was going down my head about this Legacy Primeification, this Legacy G1ification of the Prime characters. If you've got any ideas yourselves, please let me know. Just leave a comment down below. And that's it. Until next time, folks, I want you all to stay safe, stay sane, and keep on rolling. And I'll see you all next time. Ta-da!